Okay, sorry about that. All right, welcome back, guys. We are going to try to do part 2 here of our battery drain testing. So the first part was just kind of explaining how this works and why we do it, some of the tools that we're going to use. So now I'm going to attempt to, well, we're going to see how this works here actually. And so it's the key off battery drain, number 42 in your Moodle resources. Okay, it's also called, as you remember, a parasitic load test. That's what we normally call it. Okay, so still got the 2003 Jeep Wrangler here. I've got it set up. So it says number 1, perform a visual inspection, check all the following, make sure that any of these are turned on. It's like a glove box light, interior light switch, vanity mirrors, sometimes trunk light. Okay, sometimes trunk lights stay on. That's true. Not as often as they used to. Something about those kind of deals I should go ahead and mention here. If you're really going to have a battery drain issue on late model cars, it's not too often going to be one of these kind of bulbs, okay, or circuits. I'll tell you why. That's because all these cars have power protection programs in them. In other words, the body control module controls almost, if not every light on the car. Matter of fact, you can get out of the car with the headlights on and walk off, and in about 10 minutes it'll turn off those headlights. Okay? It'll turn off those interior lights. It'll turn off all those lights that it can control after about 10 minutes if it doesn't see, the ignition turned back on. So they have these protection programs built in them already. But so you just keep that in mind, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, on these late model cars. Back a long time ago, glove box light, glove box switch being misadjusted, it'd leave the light on, it'd run about 2/10 of an amp, and sure, that would cause you a problem. But even if that stays on now, the body control module, or whatever module controls the lighting inside the car, is typically going to turn that off after about 10 minutes or so. So this is a battery saver thing that's built in to these late model cars. And when I say late model cars, I mean anything built in the last 10, 15 years now that has all these controls on them, okay? So just a little tip there about that. But you do want to do a visual inspection of the car. You want to see if there's any kind of accessories put on it, anything like that, extra stereos or amplifiers or subwoofers and things like that might be incorrectly installed. So you do want to look the car over real well. You want to make sure the battery cables are clean and tight, and you've already tested the battery and so forth, okay? So it says turn off the ignition and all accessories, close all the doors, disconnect the hood lamp if equipped, disconnect the negative battery cable. So we're going to put our tool in series on the negative side of the battery, okay, which I've already done on the truck here, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. So I've already put that on there, and then we're going to connect our meter across the switch, and then we're going to open the switch and we're going to see what happens, okay? So I'll just go ahead and tell you that I've already planted a bug on this truck here just so you can see what happens, but we're going to show you how it looks, pulling the fuses one at a time, putting them back in until we find the problem. Then I'll show you what it is. But just to show you how this works, so you can get a little bit of a feel for it, since we're all online here and just doing what we can with it, all right? But I'll tell you, I'm enjoying doing these videos. I hope they continue to get, hope I get better at it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I give you some information that's beneficial. Okay, so our target here, according to this, is 0.05 amps or 50 milliamps. Okay, so that's our target. It's going to be less than that once we fix it, but it's going to be more than that at first. Okay, so I'm going to take the camera off the stand here, and we'll get started with some stuff. All right, here we go. Okay, we're going to get a little closer look at this situation here. Let me go ahead and show you this switch the tool that I've got installed. So here's the switch that I showed you the other day, all right? And it's closed right now, all right? So it's connected right to the top of the battery post there, and then the battery cable that normally goes there is connected to the other end of that cable. You can see it right there, hopefully, okay? All right, oops, sorry, hit the camera. Then I've got my meter leads on either side of that switch. So right here is where we can open and close the switch. Now, if you have one of these tools, it's beneficial to do, because we're supposed to put that on there and then go drive it, right? Operate everything, make sure everything works, turn it on, turn it off, and then come back. And then at that point, we can put our meter on here in series, okay, with the battery. And then we can check to see what's going on, all right? So we're going to do that in just a minute. In the meantime, I'm going to show you something else here. I'm going to go inside here. I talked about having multiple fuse boxes, all right? So one place to find that is in the owner's manual. I've got my owner's manual right here, 2003 Jeep Wrangler owner's manual, and it says right here, fuse panel, see? It says the fuse panel is located behind the glove box. It shows you a picture of the glove box, and it tells you how to take the glove box out. It's real simple to get to on this Jeep. Most everything on this Jeep's pretty easy to do. Then on the next page over here, it shows you what each fuse, what size it is, and a little bit of a description of what it does, what it powers up. So that's pretty handy. Pretty handy. It's got that right there. Okay, so that's the glove box on the inside. So I already have the glove box out, and I've got it laid in the seat over here. And you'll see right here, there's also a legend on the side of the glove box that looks just like the fuse box inside here. I'm going to show you. Shows you each of those fuses, how they're numbered, and the abbreviation for them. Okay, so that's pretty handy. All right, so we come right down here in where the fuse box was, and look at there. That's exactly where all the fuses are. Well, this is where one fuse box is, and they're all labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. All right, so it's pretty easy to match that up of where the fuses are and what they're labeled. Okay, all right. Also, on the next page in our owner's manual, it shows us where the underhood fuse power box is. It says underhood fuses power distribution center. Okay, it's got an arrow and pointing to it. Now that one doesn't have a description. It just goes over here and talks about bulbs. It doesn't tell you what all the fuses are there, but it does inside the fuse box. Okay, so this car or this truck, whatever you want to call it, has 2 fuse boxes. All right, and that's where they're at. Let's go back out here. So the other fuse box is right here, and I've already opened the lid on it. Okay, so we can see right here on this side, all the fuses are numbered and labeled, and they're just it's just matched exactly like it is over here. Okay, and it says right here to remove this to service the fuses. Let me back this up. There we go. All right, so we just have to take this little tab off of here, move it out of the way. Then we have our fuses. Our fuses are right here, relays are right here, and then the legend is right here. Pretty handy. Okay, so let's see. I mentioned the other day about starting with the smaller fuses, and that I usually start under the hood because I already have the meter hooked up here, of course. But you might notice here too that I've put some longer leads on the meter, so if I need to take it inside the car and do it inside the car, I can. All right, and take the meter with me. So I've just extended the leads a little bit. Okay, now so we're going to start with these fuses out here in just a minute, but I wanted to mention that these larger fuses, they're labeled here in the box, but sometimes these larger fuses, and when I say larger, I mean like a 50 amp. See, this one's 50 amps here, and these green ones are 40 amps. Sometimes those fuses will feed multiple smaller fuses, if you will, okay? Not always, but sometimes. So if you pull one of these out and the load goes away, then that tells you something, but it doesn't narrow it down all the way because it may feed more than one fuse, okay? So we always start with the smaller fuses so that we can narrow down, you know, which circuit we're looking for. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, let me shut this door. Open it, shut this door. Okay. All right, I think we're about ready to open this switch. Now, one of the advantages of having this switch on here is that we can open it and we can close it if we need to. So if we need to close it and turn something on that's a higher load, we can. And then we can open it back up for our testing. Sometimes that's necessary. Because remember, we only have a 10 amp fuse in the box, or in the meter here. Okay, so let's open up. We're just going to unscrew this switch right here. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Look at there. 240 milliamps. Okay, it says 0.237 amps. Okay, so you can say that a couple different ways. That's about 2.5 tenths of an amp. You know, this would be 2 tenths here, 24 hundredths, 243 thousandths. However you want to say that. We just call it milliamps. Okay, if we keep the measurement or the unit, you know, consistent about what we're talking about, it just keeps from getting confused. So we use the term milliamps. So that's 243 thousandths of an amp, 1,000 amps. All right, so 243 milliamps. Well, that's way too much, and that will run the battery down. Okay, all right. So let's see what happens here. Now, before pulling fuses, I'm going to show you what happens when you open the door. Okay, so I'll open the door. Right now, our interior lights came on, and all of our modules woke up. So now we have 3.4 amps. So now we're actually got 3 amps here. Okay, that'll definitely run it down. All right. Now watch what happens when you shut the door. Whoops, the meter moved. See it start going down? Okay, went down pretty quick. The interior lights faded out, and the modules went to sleep pretty quick on this one. I told y'all the other day that sometimes these modules in some cars go to sleep pretty quick. So we're down to our problem reading. Okay, get some pliers here. I'm going to move this tag back out of the way here. And I'm going to try to do this left-handed. Okay, because I'm holding the camera with my right hand. All right, so you can start wherever you want to start. Just make sure you know where you started at and keep things under control here. All right, so I'm going to start right here at the bottom of this 20 amp fuse. Okay, pull that fuse out. Okay, nothing happened. It's still the same. Put it back in. Okay, I'm going to take the next fuse out right above it. Okay, boom. Still the same. Put it back in. Take the next one out. Okay, it changed a little bit. Okay, but then it's going to go back down. It might have been a module that woke up there. That's okay. No problem. Take the next one out. Same. Okay. Just a little patience here. Take the next one out, the top there. Still reads the same. Okay. So now I'm going to move over to the next row. Start at the top here. I'm going to pull that top one out. Watch what happens. Oh, look at that. Now, if you'll remember, I was talking the other day in the other video about single digits, right? Okay, so you see what happened. It's 0.005 or 6 there. Okay, that's 5 milliamps. That's almost nothing. Okay, as my grandson would say, that's almost zero. All right, that's almost zero. Okay, that's what you want. Okay, I mean ideally. Okay, I'm going to show you here what the problem is, and then it's going to come back up just a little bit, but it's still going to be underneath our target. Okay, but okay, so that fuse there though, if we look at our legend right here, I don't know if we can see it or not, this shadow and stuff. It says Where'd it go? There it is. Says it is the power fuse, number 17, 20 amp, and it calls it the power fuse. Well, that doesn't tell you a whole lot there, but that's where you go and find your power distribution for that fuse. Find out what all it controls. Okay, well, I can tell you on this truck what it does. It powers up the power ports inside there, where you plug in different things like your phone charger and so forth. So I put the fuse back in, all right, and it came back on. Okay, so we've certainly found something going on there, and I can show you what it did here inside the vehicle. So I've got a power port in here, right here, and I've got something plugged into it, and actually what I've got plugged into it, if you can see it, is my Garmin GPS over there, okay? All right, and I did that just to show you, you know, what that looks like out there at the fuse box and at the with the meter. Okay, so we're going to unplug that. Okay, turn that off. Okay, all right. This is a little box that I've added on here because the factory ports are right here, but I added this little box to it so I could have a USB port. So it's still powered up a little bit. You can see that little blue light there. So it still has a little bit of power that it's using right here. Okay, but just a little bit. All right, so we didn't need to go in here yet. Sometimes you might have to, but we're not going to have to on this one. All right, let's come back out here. So now that I've unplugged that, oh, I got the door open still. Here we go. Close the door. See what happens. Oh, look at there. It's down quite a bit now. Let's see if it goes a little lower. Oh, there it goes. Now it's down to about 34. Okay, and that's really about as low as it's going to go. Because I checked this the other day. So that 34 milliamps, 33, 34 milliamps, that's below our 50 target on our worksheet. And yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We have a 800 cold cranking amp battery. We have 115 minute reserve capacity. This thing could sit for a long time before that battery went dead. Hope you can see obviously you can see the difference there. We had 240 something milliamps. Now we're back down to where we should be. All right. So hope you filled out your worksheet as we went there. Of course, you can rewind the video and watch it. Okay. Some other things that can happen there. All right. While we're here. All right. Let me go ahead and close this switch. I'm going to close the switch, and when you close that switch, now it really basically reads 0 because nothing's going through the meter now. It's just going through what would be somewhat of a normal connection at the battery. But you can have a lot of things that cause that. Okay, sometimes a relay sticks. Sometimes one of these relays will stick anywhere on the car, and that can cause a battery drain. Typically, if you've got a relay that's stuck, it'll be hot to the touch. You'll be able to feel it. Okay. Things like that. You can take your infrared thermometer and test them that way, and you can also feel of them, okay, and see if they're hot. All right. Okay. So that's really how that works, guys. It's really simple. It's not hard to do. So let's wrap this up. I think at this point, we'll put this back on the stand here. We'll get this done all in one video. Okay. All right. Very good. So, try to get in the sun. There we go. All right. So, parasitic load. Now, I'd be joking you if I said they were all that simple, but that's still how it works. Okay. The more complex the vehicle, the more modules that are on there, and the more electronics that are on there, you know, the more possibilities you have. But that's still it's the same process, so either way you go. As long as you connect the meter up correctly and on amps again, of course, and have a systematic approach to it, have your service information that tells you what are the specifics on that. Also, you might I might want to mention here about service bulletins, okay? Service bulletins can be a great help on this if it's an intermittent problem, okay? Because sometimes certain modules may intermittently cause this problem. And I've had several of those over the years, okay? And so you need to be sure you check bulletins. We had one time, I'll tell you real quick. This was probably 02, 03. Some Denali Yukons that would have an intermittent dead battery. You'd go out and jump start it, bring it in, couldn't find a thing. The meter would go down exactly where it's supposed to go. It was happy, couldn't find anything. And long story short, what turned out is that if you happen to park the car and turn the steering wheel just in the right spot, and when you turned it off, there was a steering wheel position sensor on the column, right? And it sent a false signal to the module that was watching that, and it would keep the modules awake, okay? This would be very hard to find without some assistance from, General Motors or whoever built the car, okay? We had a few of these trucks do this, and it was we were scratching our heads there for a while. Called General Motors and said, well, yeah, we know what's wrong with it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they had a reprogramming of the module that controlled that to fix it, okay? So you can get into some strange things. That's life. That's how it works, okay? But the basic idea is what I just showed you right here, okay? And most of the time, you'll be able to find your battery drain, get your car fixed, put it back together, and make your customer happy, and maybe you can make a little bit of money at the same time. Okay? Well, I think that's all I've got for this video. All right? Thanks for watching.